join me in welcoming Matt J. Adkins.
I'm from Chicago. Not the part of Chicago where farmers markets spring up out of the ground during Oktoberfest. I'm from a part of Chicago where the streets are run by violence. Gangs wage wars over blocks that they don't even own property on. It's a place where holidays like the 4th of July are lost for children. We spent 4th of July laying on the floor in the house to be sure that we were not hit by a stray bullet. The gangs nearby would use the sound of fireworks in the neighborhood to mask the sound of their firearms. These are the little things that decay the mind and what they call the hood. It's a place that teaches you to dominate before it teaches you to collaborate. It's a place that teaches you to survive before it teaches you to thrive. You know, Chicagoans, we know a thing or two about fires. In 1871, a cow kicked over a lantern, igniting the Great Chicago Fire. Within hours, it left 1 out of 3 Chicagoans homeless. Fast forward with me to 1968, when fires raged the streets of Chicago after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., sparking tensions so hot that the Chicago mayor, Mayor Daley at the time, issued a curfew on the entire city. Along with this curfew, Daley casually ordered his officers to shoot on sight anyone who looked like a looter. Fires of pain, fueled by hate. And then you have the fire inside, within thousands of people who've marched countless times in the face of injustice. Black people, brown people, minorities in general, are being shot to death, choked to death, bodies broken. And time and again, they're seeing the results, the verdicts, not guilty. Now, this is the type of fire that makes you want to burn a system down. And there I was, ready to burn, standing in the midst of a city, and not ready to burn just from matches, flames, but just with the total rage of a people who were just tired of being abused, oppressed, undervalued. I was ready to let that fire consume me. And then I thought, do I want to let this inner fire destroy me? Or do I want to let it refine me? What about all the beautiful things that have been poured into me? What about my mother's love? What about my grandmother's lessons? How could I let it go to waste? As if my blood in the street is worth any part of this chaos. If I had let that blaze go unchecked, I am sure that I would not be here today. In fact, with all my heart, I believe I would be dead. I'll never forget the day standing face to face with police officers in the middle of an intersection. We were so close that just beneath the riot helmet's visor, you could see the stubble on their faces. Picture it. Maybe 50 to 100 protesters staring down what looked like 300 modern-day Spartans. They had everything. Shoulder pads, riot helmets, riot shields, guns. One officer even held what I later found out was a battering ram. Why did he have a battering ram at a peaceful protest? Battering rams are used for crashing indoors. There are no doors out here. My mission this day was to make sure that the protest was facilitated peacefully. That was my job. But there was one gentleman amongst us who had a fire inside of him, a fire that he could not contain. Within minutes, he stepped forward and spat at the riot shield of an officer. Now, legally, spitting on a person carries the same legal weight as being struck in the face. Both are assaults. The police response and what followed was chaos. A symphony of batons crashing into flesh filled the air. Tear gas and pepper spray in our lungs. But I had a really surprising response to this. For the first time, I realized I really don't feel like using my fire this time for vengeance. I think this time I'm actually going to follow through and use this fire to build. This event marked the beginning of self-discovery for me. I began to read articles about movements in social justice. Books like Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates, or Living and Loving Out Loud by Cornel West. I visited mosques, Buddhist monasteries. I became familiar with philosopher Lao Tzu. I studied Taoism. I was searching for the answer. How do I build something beautiful with such a raging blaze inside of me? Sometime after, I was on a vacation with family and friends. We were visiting Panama. And Wanderlust took us somewhere. This was not my idea. It was just Wanderlust. It led us on a journey to a small nearby island along the Chagres River. This island was inhabited by the Tusipono tribe. I soon made my way to the shaman. It was my first request. He was an elder who gladly shared his wisdom. He speaks a language that predates Spanish, which is the language spoken in Panama. So we're both using the sign language that we're just pulling right out of our instincts. And it's funny because the connection is somehow working. Somehow we're able to compare natural healing techniques. We find ourselves able to compare flute playing styles, which is really fun. And as I sat and spoke with him, I noticed children not too far away flipping and twirling over the lap of a fellow villager. I watched as she taught them the ways and the rules to facilitate a village. What does it take to maintain a community? An epiphany hit me. I was blasted like by a bolt of lightning. It takes a village. You would have thought I invented the idea. I finally saw exactly what my city needed. I got to see what I needed to become someone who could mold fires to become someone who could build communities, to become someone who could create lasting change. When I got home, I knew that it was time to go into education, but I did not have the credentials. And so what do? You get in where you fit in. Yes. I became a driver. I spent my time, after leaving corporate America, I spent my time driving students to and from school. This was a humbling time for me. Every day, I remembered my time with the Tusi Pono tribe. I remembered the books. And every day, I remembered that I was laying the foundation for becoming what my city needed most, a sharer of flames. When I was able to take my first teaching position, I was really fortunate to have the opportunity to work and take a position with a school that was founded with the idea of disrupting the school to prison pipeline. This idea set critical framework for me to implement the lessons that I learned and gathered through the perilous and chaotic riots and in the beautiful time spent with the Tusi Pono tribe. This was a place where my desire to connect communities to students, to connect with parents, and to connect with my students, it was welcomed, encouraged, and little did I know, mandatory. A particular student comes to mind. His name is Jeremy. He gave me permission to use his name today. This was important to me because I always challenge my students to live out loud, in the moment, and real. If you are in a room, you deserve to take up space, and so if I use your story, your name should be known. Jeremy came to us as a means to navigate the injustice or the justice system. In his words, I'm only coming here so I don't have to go to jail. Jeremy came to us on probation. His probation officer visited the school. We connected with her too. But as Jeremy began to receive the embrace, compassion, and empathy of not just his instructors, but the internship sites that we partner with, along with taking in information from mom, such as how things went last night, we were able to create an environment that assisted Jeremy with becoming a person who could thrive. We helped mold that little fire into something that could be a center of warmth in his community. He is just one out of the 6 years that I've been there. Jeremy did something later on that would shock me entirely. I did not think I was cool enough to be remembered by this student. He was much cooler than I. One day I'm playing Xbox, that's my stress relief. All right, Call of Duty. And I get a text message. And I'm gonna try to, yo, Mr. Mac, just a little update, man. I'm in class right now on the road to riches. Matt, at risk. My response in true fashion, the way we spoke in the classroom, bruh. It spoke 1,000 words between us. We got on the phone and spoke. His mother took the phone from him and we began to talk. Jeremy's story is just one of so many dreamers who have fires that we're molding. But this talk has a very intentional purpose. Educators, entrepreneurs, spiritual leaders, parents. Will we handle the little fires in our communities as carelessly as the cow that kicked over that lantern? Or will we begin to operate with intentionality? Will we begin to operate in a way that lets the child or the people in our communities know we care that you're here, you matter to us, it's important to me that you exist? If you're an entrepreneur, have you sought out a mentee? As a parent, have you locked arms with the instructors that facilitate your child's learning? And as educators, are we doing the most possible to build relationships with our community partners? As people, we sometimes forget that the little fires around us are all going to determine the future of our communities, our village, that old technology. It reminds me of a quote that Dr. Ford once shared. If a child cannot feel the embrace of its village, it will burn it down to feel its warmth. Thank you.